It's a big purchase. So sometimes people get anxious, right? Don't take it personally. Just be compassionate and have understanding for people. In most cases, if somebody gets a little angry and anxious, it's not really directed against you. It's just their circumstances. So just have patience with people and be compassionate. And I promise you will succeed as long as you always treat everybody the same way you would like to be treated.
Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast, where we dig into the journeys of top producing agents who are absolutely crushing it in this business and share their secrets for success with you. I'm your host, Lindsay Favazza, and I'm pumped to talk to today's guest. Sitting with me today is the talented Adriana Scholz, a top producing agent out of the Lamacchia Realty Waltham office. Adriana joined us in August of 2024, but let me tell you, she brought with her 25 years of real estate experience. And get this year alone, Adriana has closed over 16 million in sales volume. That's right, 16 million. Adriana has a proven track record of success with unmatched market knowledge, unwavering dedication to her clients, and a drive that has made her a standout in her market and in the industry. She's here to share her insights, her journey, and the strategies that have helped her thrive year after year. Whether you're a brand new agent or a seasoned pro, Adriana's story is sure to inspire you, challenge you, and maybe even give you that aha moment you've been looking for to start the new year. So, without further ado, I welcome to the podcast today, Adriana. Welcome.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Ever since you joined, I remember I think the first day we met, we had a conversation about doing this. So I'm glad we made it happen today because I'm super excited to hear more about your story. So,
thank you so much.
Let's start at the beginning. Where are you from? What's your, origin story, and how did you get into real estate?
Yep. So I'm originally from Germany. I moved here 27 years ago. I actually went to Bentley University. So I call myself the exchange student that never exchanged back because I came here for school and I was never planning on staying here. And then life happened, very quick personal story. I met somebody, fell in love, joined the business, fell in love with the real estate business. And now I've been here 27 years, love this country. And yeah, I've been doing real estate ever since after I finished college. I really went for business, but I fell in love with the real estate industry. And I actually sold a little bit of real estate in Germany when I went to school in Germany, because I started my schooling in Germany before I moved here. So I have a little bit of an international real estate experience as well.
So you move to a brand new country, you start to make some friends, but you don't have that kind of sphere or that, that circle of people. So when you're getting started in the industry, how is it that you're kind of getting off? Like, how are you getting yourself off the ground? Like, it must have been harder for you than it is for someone who's grown up here and knows everybody and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it definitely was. So first of all, I was very young. So when I joined the industry in 1999, so I started in November of 1999, it was kind of a different market back then, obviously, but it was also a different industry from my point of view. So there was a lot of experienced agents. There's also a lot of experienced agents now, but back then there was more like a pool. There was a very few top agents, and then there was like a big gap, and then there were the new agents. So there wasn't really a big pool of agents right in the middle. So I felt like I was young. People looked at me like the experienced agents. They're like, she's never going to make it. She's this young, bubbly, inexperienced, young agent from, just got her license. And that's how everybody looked at me. So nobody took me actually seriously. So it was very, very hard. When I started, I had many nights where I came home crying because I said, oh my God, this is such a mean business. It's backstabbing. That was my experience. I literally had to go out. I went door knocking. Back then, there was still a thing. So I went from door to door. There were some experiences that were not very pleasant. But, I did it. We did cold calling, door knocking. I had a friend of mine who also had started in the business. So we kind of did a little bit together, which was a little bit easier, but it was very hard. And again, the hardest part was I've always been a very trusting very friendly person, kind. I'm still kind. I'm not as trusting anymore as I used to because, got to be a little careful in this business.
Harden up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the hardest part for me. So I just, cold calls, door knocking. I talked to everybody that I met, but it was definitely difficult.
So what was driving you at that point? Because here you're saying like it's hard and you're having some hard experiences and people are cutthroat and all of this, but like what was really driving you to be successful at that time? Because you could have easily said, you know what, I've got this degree, I'm going to go do something else. But what was keeping you in real estate?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I've always wanted to help people. And I actually wanted to, originally my dream was to become a doctor. And that didn't happen because I couldn't really handle the whole blood aspect of, anyway. So I was always very into helping people. I love the real estate industry as a whole. And how I grew up, my entire life, you just don't give up. So I'm one of five. I had to, I started working when I was 11. I never got anything handed to me. I had to work very hard since I've been 11. And I was brought up with, you just don't give up. There's always obstacle in life. Life is not easy. And you just, you have to give it your best. And I just didn't want those people to really be right about me. When they looked at me and said, oh, she's not going to make it. There were some top agents, which obviously I'm not going to name now, but they're still in the business. And they said, oh, she's definitely not going to make it. I said, you know what? I will prove myself to these people. I will not give up. I know it is hard, but I like the business, right? I like looking at homes. I like meeting new people. That's still my favorite part, meeting all these people, helping people, finding them homes, matching people with their dreams of home ownership. And I just didn't want to give up.
So you get your first closing. How did that feel? How did that all happen? Was it like perfectly smooth? I'm sure it wasn't. No. Take us back to that first deal that you closed.
Mm-hmm. So it was actually funny. It was somebody from Germany. So back then when I started in the business, we had mentors. So I had started with Coldwell Banker in 1999. And they actually used to have a great program, which I wish almost it would come back. It was a mentoring program. So somebody took you under their wings, an experienced agent, and then showed you kind of the ropes. And then for the first couple of deals, you split that deal with them, but in exchange, they helped you really with everything. So this wonderful agent that put me under his wing back then happened to get a referral from Germany. So it's kind of a funny story. Somebody was moving here from Germany. Yeah. And they would love, they said, hey, we would love to speak to somebody who actually, speaks our language. And there was nobody else in the office that was fluent in German, but myself. So my first very client was actually from Germany. So they were buying a new construction here in Waltham. And they went back to Germany, and I was overseeing the entire new construction. And the closing took way longer. The house was not getting ready in time. Yeah. I wasn't used to that. Like you guys, I didn't know, right? So it took so much longer. I was so nervous. I felt so bad. Obviously, it wasn't my fault. But so it's, a closing that was supposed to happen within 60 days was literally delayed for like 6 months due to the weather, etc. So it was like right away I got, into this difficult kind of transaction, or hurdles. I shouldn't say difficult, but
I mean it's good experience too to know how it is to work with that. But you'd rather your first closing come and go so you can get that first paycheck and not wait 6 months for it.
No, I had to wait. Yep. But it all worked out in the end. And then those people lived here for a while, and then they ended up selling their house again with me 15 years later. So they must have still been okay with, being their first sale.
They recognize that it wasn't your fault. You weren't the one swinging the hammer trying to get the house done. So, but so tell me, having it be that long of a period where they still thought of you, why do you think that is? And how do you keep your clients so sticky to you? Because so many realtors have a problem with getting that repeat business. They just either forget about those clients or the client forgets about them or whatever, those years pass. But how do you make it so that people really, continue to refer you year after year?
Yeah. So first of all, I treat every client or every single person in my life the same way I would like to be treated. So that's always been my motto. I'm always honest. I don't sugarcoat anything. For example, if there's termites in the house, I don't call them flying ants. They are termites. Okay. But what I always try to do is I have a solution for the problem before I present the problem to the client.
Yeah.
And also I do everything, and I, over 150%. I know there's really not 150%, right? There's only 100%, but I go always beyond and above for all my clients, to a point where a lot of people said to me, you just do too much. I don't think there's any, you can't do too much for anybody, I believe. And for an example for that, for example, in that case where the new construction, it wasn't finished, I went to the property almost every other day and checked on the process. And that was a winter, I never forget that. It was in 99. So it was actually the winter 99 to 2000. It was 0 degrees with wind shields off. It was just freezing. And I literally went to that house. I was like freezing, taking pictures, doing video calls with the clients, and just keeping them updated, and just really doing that extra step and going above, and just being, okay, I could have just done I didn't have to go every other day to the home, right, and check on it. But the extra step and really being there for them, that made them even more comfortable. And I still do this to this time, even after being in the business for 25 years.
That's amazing. And it shows that your clients are going to remember you, because they're like, she went above and beyond. Why wouldn't we use her for the next one? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about those first years after that first sale. So you probably felt really good once that finally closed, and, kind of take us through the next few years of the business and how you were able to grow, and like, how did the sales grow with you over those years?
Yeah. So obviously the first years, like in any new business, right, it is not easy. I mean, real estate, we are really our own, we're all independent contractors. So it's our own business. I've always treated it like that. Nobody hands you any business, right? Back then, there wasn't really any lead program like it is now with Zillow, et cetera. We didn't have that. So the first few years, I mean, every day, it's like, you're unemployed, right? Every day you're unemployed again. You have to get on the phone and you have to keep going. And even when you don't feel good, you have to keep going and going, and every day. And what I learned the hard way, sometimes when you filled your pipeline, right, and you have a lot of closings, or a lot of pendings rather, in the pipeline, and then you kind of stop because you're like, oh, you're so busy, and you just focus on the existing business and you forget to fill your pipeline. And that's a very, very big mistake. So the first few years, I kind of concentrated always on the business that I had and focused my entire attention. And then when those closings came and went, and I was like, ooh, now I had to start all over again, right? Yeah. So that took me a while to really learn that you always have to have a full pipeline, or you will, after your closing, you will have like another few months where you have no income. So you don't want to be at that point, right? So the first few years, I didn't sell a lot of homes, right? I had to hustle every day. I had to reach out. I didn't have the sphere of influence that a lot of people have. I went to school here, but I only finished my schooling here. I wasn't born here. Mm-hmm. So I had to call people every day. I went out. I started making friends. I talked about real estate everywhere I went. So needless to say, the first few years, I did not sell a lot of homes. Then the repeat business came, right? But it was hard. It was not easy. It was hard. So that's why I tell people now, when they enter the business, you really, it's not a rich, quick thing, right? You have to focus, you have to put the work in, and you really need to put years into it before you can get to a point where you get successful. That's been my experience when I started. So just keep going every day.
Keep going and don't give up, as you said before.
Yes, that's the biggest thing. Never, ever, ever give up.
Understanding that pipeline, right? So take me through like a day-to-day, or maybe it's a week-to-week or a month-to-month, however you like. What are the activities that you're doing to keep that pipeline healthy and to make sure that you don't run into a case where we always call it here closing mode, right? You get into closing mode and you forget all about, prospecting and bringing in new clients and all of that. So tell me how that looks for you now, And what are some tips and things that you can give people to really like make sure that pipeline is healthy?
Yeah. So again, it took me a while to get to this point, right? So now my day looks like, I mean, I always try to have at least 5 pendings. That's kind of like my thing. If I have anything less than 5 pendings, meaning I have, obviously the accepted offer and the purchase and sales agreement was signed, and now we're moving on to closing, then I get a little bit, not nervous, but I'm like, oh, what am I doing? So I got to go back to, my database. So I have a steady database. I usually every day I reach out to at least 10 people, if it's either via email, texting. A lot of times I reach out for more people, but that's also just meeting people, right? So everywhere I go, for example, right now during the holidays, there's a lot of hockey tournaments. I make sure, I talk to people about real estate. I never had a problem asking people for business. I shouldn't say ever, at the beginning, but not, for the last 20 years. And, I talk to people and I say, hey, listen, how's, you still in the house? Do you still like it? Do you know anybody who wants to move? So everywhere I go, it's not necessary, reaching and calling new people, but just the people that I know. So I try to do that every day. I do a lot of social media. So every day I try to post, not every day, like at least every other day, I try to post something. If it's my testimonial Tuesdays, if I write up an offer, I have a listing, or just content. If I don't write up an offer right now, it's a little bit of a slow time, right? So if I don't have a week where I write up an offer, then I put other content. So constantly social media, reaching out to people, picking up the phone, going out, if I have a party, if I go to a party, talk about real estate, just being involved in the community, volunteering. Anything you can do to make people know that you are in real estate, but keep reminding them of it. People will forget. I send out video messages. People really like that. Instead of just sending out emails, I record a message, send them video messages, market updates, anything you can do to get your face out to your clients, to your database.
I love that. So you've been in the business for 25 years. It's a big feat. Most agents have only been in the business for a few years, probably just since the pandemic, right? We saw such a big influx of people during that time. So being an agent that's been in the business for so long, you've seen those ebbs and flows of the business. And obviously the last couple of years have been some weird ebbs and flows. So how do you change what you're doing to accommodate the changes in the industry? How do you I guess what's your tips to dealing with change? Because it's going to be inevitable in this business, right?
Yeah. So when I started, the business just kept going up and up, right? In 99. And then, 2000 was crazy up until 2004. 2004 was just, I remember doing open houses for some of the top agents, and I had people come in fighting for the home that wasn't even built next door. Because there was a time when there were a lot of new constructions built, like a lot of townhouses. Now there's a lot of, things are built up in Waltham, but back then that was like the biggest new construction time. Yeah. So it was almost like you were sitting there and people literally came in and, fighting to buy the house that was not built. So that was almost like an easy time, but it was also different because we had to go and run and sign offers. So now with everything electronically, the business has gotten so much easier. I remember we used to have to drop everything to drive to one person's, let's say if there was a couple, right? So you drove the offer to the husband's work, and then you took that offer and drove it to the wife's work. Because if you faxed it, the more times you faxed it, in the end, when you got the offer back, because that was the thing back then, right? Yeah. There was no dot loop, no DocuSign. No. By the time you got the faxed copy back, you couldn't read the damn thing anymore. So you had to really drop everything. So now it's so much easier with the dot loop, the DocuSign. So then the market crashed. So then we all had to, adjust to the foreclosures, the short sales. Yep. So it's just a different time, right? You had to reach out even more to people. You had to be more in tune with people. You had to be more really patient. I've always been a very patient person. So when the market changes, I think the biggest thing is you can't it's not our fault, right? So, a lot of people get into this rut. Oh my God, the market changes. It's not my fault that I'm not selling, right? So, but the truth is people always need a home, right? So people will always need a place to live and they will always sell and buy. Is it less selling and buying when the market changes? Absolutely. But you just need to be more in tune with your people, reach out, and you have to be more creative, really, right? So a lot of people say, oh, the interest rates are high, right? So they are locked in to still, I have a lot of clients that obviously bought, like a lot of people, they bought or refinanced when the interest rates were at 2.9, right? So now they really want to get into the larger home or the more spacious home, want to upgrade or also downsize, either way, but they don't want to lose their interest rates, right? So you just need to sit down with people. You need to find a game plan. You can always refinance. You need to finagle things. Talk to your loan officer that you work with. I really always think it's a great idea to have a team of people to really have a loan officer that you like to refer. Obviously, always refer a few loan officers because you can't just refer one, right? Have a group of people, attorneys, loan officers that you work with, and just come up with different strategies in a different market and just try to adjust to it, right? And go with the flow and don't go into this, oh my God, the market is low, so it's slow. I'm fine just being slow because it's not my fault. There's always ways that you can work around it, and people always have to buy and sell.
Yeah, they always. Yep. Even when the pandemic hit and people were like, how are we actually going to do this? There were still homes being sold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, nobody went through, a pandemic. Nobody thought the country was shutting down. And I actually remember that I was sitting here and I was nervous. I was a single mom with 3 children. And I'm like, how am I going to keep,
you gotta do school.
I'm going to keep my children.
We were doing school.
Yeah, I'm not a teacher. I am very patient when it comes to my clients. I've had clients that I've been searching with for 4 years for homes, and they still found a home and I still help them. When it comes to teaching my kids, I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to do that. But then I actually listened to Anthony, and that was way before I joined La Macchia.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there, I think in his living room. I don't know if he was sitting in his office or wherever. And he's like, wait until, enjoy the time now, because after Memorial Day weekend, the market's going to go crazy. We are all going to be selling a lot of homes. I was sitting in my kitchen listening to Anthony. I'm like, that guy's crazy. It's a pandemic, right? We're not going to be selling homes. I remember this day, Memorial Day weekend hit. The week after Memorial Day weekend, my phone rang off the hook with people wanting to buy homes. So I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, this guy was right. So I never forget that. I was like,
maybe we have to edit that. We don't need him, to know that he was right. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but that was really, but then all of a sudden, and everybody was buying, and I never thought there was a tough time. Masks and gloves and 15 minutes for each home, and you were
lines. You had lines with traffic, like cops were there.
Yeah. I remember once during the winter of 2021, right? It was so cold, 45 minutes outside. I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't feel my toes. I was like, that was the one time I said, you know what? This really is not enjoyable. Not the home selling, but just
awful.
But
it was a crazy time. But you pivoted and you made it work. And it was a hard time, but at the same time, we look back now and we're like, man, you could always look back at another time and think that would have been great, right? Like during the pandemic, even still to this day, yes, it was so hard to teach the kids and do all that, but you had more time with your kids, right? Like there's always something in every change of the market or in any change of your life or anything like that you could look at and be like, well, this kind of stinks, but this is really great, right? So it's staying positive and finding what is working for you and leaning into it and, pivoting, being willing to change and pivot, which is, it sounds like you've always been willing and able to do. And now you're at the top of your game, which any of those people that were looking at you when you first started, you've made it, my friend. So congratulations. You can tell that girl from 25 years ago, you did it, because you definitely did. So
thank you. It was not easy, but it's definitely, as long as you don't ever give up. And what I would like to say to new agents, and I didn't always live by that, but I learned the hard way. If you don't know an answer to anything, don't make up an answer. Okay. Because there's always these times, right? So when you're new, you just can't know it all. You might think, there's people out there say, no, I know it all. It's just not possible. Nobody knows everything when they start. Me, after 25 years, I don't know the answer to everything. But when I don't know the answer, I will always say, you know what, this is a great question. I don't have the answer to it right now, but I will get you the answer as soon as I can. But I did, and I admit to it, because again, I'm a very honest person. I'm not perfect, right? There were times when I started in the business, because you don't want to look stupid, right? You don't want to look like you don't know it.
Yep.
And you make up something. I forgot. I think it was actually, I didn't know about termites, bringing up termites again. So we didn't have termites in Germany. I'm sure there's termites in the woods, but homes in Germany are built purely out of brick. So we don't really have construction built out of wood, right? So it's all brick. So there's never been termites. There can't be termites in a brick home, right?
Yep.
So I had never heard of termites. So when I had my first home, and I don't know, maybe it was just, the universe talking to me, but I had so many problems with termites when I first started in the business. And I remember this one time I just made something up about termites, and it came back to really bite me in the butt. Okay. Because it was just something made up. I'm like, oh yeah, termites are not bad. I don't even know what I made up. Oh, they're going to die. And, I just didn't have the research about termites, right? And then this person came back to me and said, you know what, this is just not true. Termites, they can be in the sill and they can really be very damaging to those. So long story short, I felt like an idiot. And I ended up going back to the client, and I admitted that I pulled the answer out of the hat. And I felt horrible. Yeah. And I learned then, the hard way, and I ended up losing that deal. So that was my first deal that, the people backed out. And that is also something when you start in the business, usually your rate of, deals that don't come together, your back out rate, as I call it. So people actually that end up not purchasing, how you get into, to the offer, and then people backing out, is higher than. With the experience now that I've in the business, my back out rate is very, very little, because I just know how to fix problems easier and find solutions. But that comes with experience too. But just always be honest. People will always appreciate it more if you tell them honestly, you just don't have the answer, but you will get it.
Yeah.
Than if you make up something. So
you're saving yourself all the hassle of them finding out that you were wrong and then losing all that trust. It's all about trust.
Correct. And once you lose that trust, it's very hard to get it back. But if you say you just don't know, but you will get the answer, but just be confident, right? Listen, we have so many people, I can get you the answer.
Yep.
People will appreciate that always way more than if you just pull something out of your head and then you look like an idiot after. So that's kind of my biggest advice. Don't ever lie. Always be honest. Never give up. And just, put your head up and,
And that's the thing too, especially if, a lot of people, I think, in this business or in any sales position, they push the sale on the person, but it really comes back to, like, if you're honest with them, if you know that that's not the right house for your client and you're pushing it on them, like, it's going to come back to bite you, because they're either going to buy the house and then be miserable, and then they're never going to want to use you again. It's better to tell them the truth and then have them buy the house that they love and then feel indebted to you because you guided them to the right decision. So it really becomes like, just honesty in general is going to be key to your success long-term in the business,
Right. Yeah. You know how many times actually I told people not to buy a home, and I had other people in the industry saying to me, why are you doing this? I remember this one house, I think it was in Malden or Medford. I don't remember. I just remember it was one of those towns. So I sell pretty much everywhere. So I go all over in the state. I don't really just sell in, this area, not just in Waltham. And the foundation was literally, I mean, the foundation was going this way. So I always go with my clients. If they find a home, sometimes I can't be there at the initial visit, especially if it's an open house, and I have my own open house during the same time. But if they're interested in the home, I will always make the time to at least go back with them. Or if they can't go to not another visit, then I will go to the home myself to really check it out. Full disclosure, I'm not an inspector. I'm not a home inspector. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a licensed, I'm a licensed realtor. I'm a licensed real estate broker, actually. That's my expertise. That's why I'm licensed in. But I've seen so many homes, I kind of know what to look for at this point in my life, right? In my career. So there were many homes where I actually pointed out certain things. I said, you know what? You really need to have an expert look at this. And, the foundation was going this way, and you said you really don't have you don't want to spend the extra funds of renovating a home. This is something that might require, a lot of extra money. So I've actually told people that if it would be me, I would not be purchasing that house. And a lot of realtors don't do that. And you should have seen, the clients, and they're like, really? Oh my God, nobody's ever said that to us. And I said, it's not my money. It's not my house. I'm just telling you, there's so many red flags that I'm seeing, even without being an expert in this field, not being a licensed home inspector, so many red flags that I see, I would not be proceeding with this home. And I've said that many times, and people come back and really appreciate that. And they stick with you. And that's one of the other reasons why I get a lot of repeat business, because again, I'm honest and people know that, and I don't sugarcoat anything, and I say how it is, and I'm always there for people.
When I need to hear it straight, I'm going to you. I'm going to be like, Adriana, I need some advice. Just tell me straight. And I know you're going to be honest with me. You just have that way about you. You'll also be kind and caring, but you'll shoot me straight. So I love that. And Adriana, thank you so much for shooting our audience straight today, giving them like the real nitty gritty. You didn't just talk about, here's how I've been successful. You talked about things that you failed at and that you had to learn from. And I think it's super important for people to hear that. And I guarantee that so many people took something away from this today and from you. And you're a joy to talk to, and you're an inspiration. So thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to our audience as well for listening. And anything else you want to say before we close it out?
I'm happy. I'm always happy to help because, again, I said it's not easy to start, but as long as you have the passion, you love helping people. That's really what it comes down to, right? So we bring people together with, they have a dream of homeownership. So we really help people achieve dreams. And as long as you love helping people, and if you're compassionate and you love what you do, and I have that's kind of like my slogan. I have a little heart, and I always put on everything, love what I do. But I mean it. I truly love what I do. Even after 25 years, I still truly enjoy helping people. I love what I do. I love the business. I love looking at homes. I love meeting people. So as long as you have that compassion for people and patience, right? And you understand people, and it's a big purchase. So sometimes people get anxious, right? Don't take it personally. That's another thing I would like to say. I've had clients, we had many clients, especially first home buyers, but even second home buyers, third home buyers. When somebody lists a home, there's different circumstances. Sometimes it's a divorce. Sometimes it's, somebody passed away. Just be compassionate and have understanding for people. In most cases, if somebody gets a little angry and anxious, it's not really directed against you. It's just their circumstances. So just have patience with people and be compassionate and kind always. And just be there for people. And I promise you will succeed as long as you always treat everybody the same way you would like to be treated, and have patience and compassion.
That's amazing. Well, Here are her links right here. You can see them if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, then make sure that you check out the show notes because we'll also have her links in there. So reach out to her because like she said, she's a wealth of knowledge and also willing to help. So thank you again, Adriana, so much. Thank you to our audience. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of The Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you're interested in being a guest, email us at info@crushitinre.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to crush it in real estate.